And then we have a B2B component. So this is where we deal with NGOs that are working with those savings groups at the bottom of the pyramid, because we provide them with the dashboard. And we also have a B2B where we deal with financial service providers, because again, they want to tap into this liquidity. Because again, back to the data, in 2018, of the 47,000 groups, that's roughly a little bit above 1 million people. So to give you an idea of the traffic in terms of savings, they were doing roughly 5-something million in savings per month. Now, commercial banks in Kigali handles that in terms of savings. So these are retail clients. These are not like corporate transaction, those big transactions. Yeah. They might be handling those transactions, but in terms of deposits, and this is the minimum. So 5.4, I think, million every single month.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in again. My name is Fahad Mukunzi, and I'm the host of the Bold African Show. And today I'm joined by Shema Steve. He's the founder and chief executive officer of Exuus Limited. We'll be talking about what they do. He's based out of Rwanda, so he's going to be sharing his experience doing business in Rwanda and talking about the products and services they provide. So Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure. I mean, I've been watching a couple of your videos, and I think it's quite a pleasure to be on this show. At least I try to keep a low profile, but whenever I get a chance to, to share my experience, hoping that it helps anyone, someone, somewhere. So it's a pleasure to be part of this conversation.
Yeah, I'm happy to host you, and we do have a lot to unpack here. So let's jump right in. Can you tell us about who you are and what you do?
I'm Shema Steve, and I'm the founder and CEO of Exuus Limited. And Exuus is a FinTech based in Kigali. So we have two products. One has been around for quite some time, and another one we just launched it, I think, a few weeks ago. Yeah. So the main one is called Save. So Save is a digital platform for collective savings schemes. So these collective savings schemes are predominantly informal. So they're widely known in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. So these are people that come together, they do small savings, and then from there they sort of give each other credits at a more or less small interest rate, which again comes back into the group. So for decades it's been done manually using what they usually call a cash box. So this is a cash box where you put in money, and then it has padlocks. So yeah, that's how they've been doing it. And then we thought to ourselves, why can't we just go digital and then digitize the whole process? So that's what I've been pretty much doing since. So the product, we piloted the product in 2018. So early 2018. So I've been doing that ever since then. And but as far as savings groups are concerned, I've been working in that field since 2015, I guess. So yeah, that's pretty much. And the other product is called Save Plus. So it's part of a lines of products we're planning to put out. So next year we'll be launching a couple of others. But Save Plus is now a crowdfunding platform. So that came after a number of conversations I had with friends of mine that are involved in charity work, because impact is a huge part of what we do, though we're a for-profit company. So we try to sort of achieve wealth and impact at the same time. So we try to sort of find a balance in between. So that came in to primarily, obviously, complement what we're doing as part of a diversification strategy. But then on top of that, it's been on my mind for a number of years, I guess. So most of those friends of mine that are involved in charity, it's a bit unfortunate that most of them rely on GoFundMe. That's
Yeah.
unfortunately not accessible in Rwanda. So they will tell you a story that they go through to raise, charity money or for whatever organizations that they are working for. And I feel like it's sad that you find that more than 80% of their donors are based outside of Rwanda. Yet we who live in Rwanda are the primary beneficiaries. So we barely, sort of contribute towards. I remember one time I wanted to contribute, my card was rejected, and I was like, you know what? That was a bit, I was like, I mean, this is what I do every day. So there should be something. So we were happy to be actually, SafePlus is the first crowdfunding platform that's, that was made in Rwanda and developed in Rwanda. And the way it works, it's pretty much the same logic, though it takes into account the reality on the ground. So for instance, you do not need a smartphone or internet to use it. So for each code that's created on the platform, it has what we call a till number. So this till number can be, it's like a pay bill. So it could be used by somebody who has a USSD, a feature phone. They can just dial that short code and then donate. So you can donate from 100 Rwandan francs. That's a little bit less than $1, I guess. So yeah. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what I've been, up to. And yeah, I don't know if I gave enough details.
Oh, trust me, I have way more questions. So we'll go into the nitty gritty. What you're doing and the products that you're working on. So you talked about helping these seven groups go digital. So why do seven groups have to come together as individuals and then serve as a group? Why don't they use the banks? Can you talk about what the challenges are there and why people actually choose to serve in these groups?
So I'll give you a bit of a scenario here. So Rwanda has currently 12 million people, right? Now, that means in Rwanda we count probably, the latest data, I don't have the latest data from the top of my head, but we are looking at less than 3 million active bank accounts in Rwanda. So that's 3 million with, or less, actually could be way less than 3 million in a country of 12 million people. Now, the interesting part here is that over 9 million people have mobile phones. Now, so there's a gap in between there. And our logic has always been that it should not be a prerequisite for me to have a bank account, a conventional, typical bank account to access formal financial services. So theory is that a phone is enough.
Yeah.
So that's where we started from. Now, the point, if you look at the average income per, like an average Rwandan, you're looking at probably less. We have millions of people that live on less than $1 per day. So which means if I can't even afford to, make my, fulfill my ends or like fulfill my basic needs, would I be able to save? So that's the question. Because if I can barely survive a day, so saving would be the least of my concern.
Yeah.
Now, that's point number 2. Now, point number 3 is that saving culture in Africa, Rwanda, generally, it's not there. Not because people somehow there's the awareness problem, but also the fact that people are struggling to live by a day. So savings do not come in as as a priority to them. Now, what we've seen is people do things collectively. So if I can save 500 francs and then I have 20 other people that are saving that amount of money, that brings in the multiplier effect, which means we're not all going to need that money at the same time. We just need to organize ourselves and find ways we could help each other. So if I need the money today, so the other guys are shipping, and then I get to do whatever it is I'm supposed to do and then pay back the money. So it's more like a bank, but now more of an informal type of bank, because I have a salary. Now, if I was to get a loan from a bank, that would probably take me a week or so. Minimum, it's a week. Now imagine somebody who doesn't a permanent job, who doesn't have a contract. That's close to impossible.
Yeah.
But then, so that's why most people within the middle, middle and the lower class of the pyramid, they resort to such a kind of schemes. So they say, if banks can help us, let's just find solutions amongst ourselves. So that's what they do. So you have people saving together, and then when one needs a loan, they request for it, they borrow, and then they pay back with interest. So the interest is paid back according to how much money everybody saved. So that's the logic. And for me, I think there's this picture that has been circulating around across social media of the streets in Kigali. They're clean in the garden, and then you have some guy that another more or less sort of a street that was made right next to it. That sort of it's more of a shortcut. So people are saying there's UI and UX, user interface and user experience. So these groups are more of a good user experience. So the UI, the structures, the banks that bring into place, those are good. But then if you look at the experience of it, you find that most people are left out because of things, all those things that happen.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Thanks for that explanation. Yeah, I can see how that's going to help improve people's lives who don't have access to bank accounts, who only have like the mobile phones. And there's, pretty much everyone has a mobile phone, right? Almost, I would say. So you're bringing allowing these groups to save better, to also, track all these, their savings. And there is a credit scoring model built into your system. Can you talk a bit more about that and how that helps?
Yeah, I mean, it's not yet final, or we're still working on the model, trying to improve it, because we are still trying to compile data so that we come up with a good model. But so far, what we provide is more of a digital ledger, that's already operational. We are working on a credit scoring model. It's not yet out. Hopefully next year we'll probably test it and then roll it out. But for now, so groups are responsible of their money. So they handle their savings. We just provide a platform which they then use, and then they can decide who gets the money and who doesn't. So that it's completely decentralized, in the sense that the groups are the ones that decide how to utilize their money. But for us, we just provide a platform at the moment, and hopefully next year that's when we will look at the aspect of the decentralized credit scoring model. But for now, it's work in progress, so we haven't rolled it out yet.
Yeah, great. So, do the banks have that in Rwanda? Because last time I checked, you had to have you had to have collateral to be able to get a loan. Do they see if your credit score is good to give you a loan? Does that exist?
Yeah, there's something called Credit Reference Bureau. So they rely on what I would call second data. So they pull from the broad banking sector, to see if you have any footprint there, and then they try to sort of play around with that. So, and again, if you look at the data that they have, for instance, my bank, they do not really have an idea how I use my money. They might have a hint or two, but you'd notice that predominantly in Rwanda, you have cash in, cash out. Since most things are not yet digitalized, so that if I'm spending at a restaurant, or I'm spending at a barber shop, I'm spending at a mall, shopping mall somewhere, so they can be able to tell my spending behavior. So around here, it's still limited, in the sense that even if they can do it for me, because maybe I rely mostly on my credit card or debit card, you have more than 80% of people that do not do that. They just go at the ATM, they cash out, and then they use cash all day long. So it's there, but I feel like the data, the output is not as detailed and broken down as it should be, because again, most of the things are still cash based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So how many groups would you say you've helped to get together and save on your platform so far?
So at the moment, we have a bit above 2,000 groups. That's
Ah,
roughly, yeah, that's roughly 37,000 users. I mean, still a small number because we want to
yeah.
hit a million
It's
or
a
so.
it's a huge number.
Well, if I give you the market size, so we were involved in a countrywide survey of these savings groups in Rwanda. And if I was to tell you, so as of 2018, we had 47,000 savings groups across the country. Now
Yeah.
those are the ones we were able to survey, which means we could have more than those, you know. So of the 47,000, if we only have 2,000, we still feel like that's like a drop in the ocean. So still have a long way to go, but at least we've come a long way still. And we believe that next year we might cross the 1 million threshold, you know, users next year. We
Right.
could do it half of next year, possibly. I mean, looks promising, but so far that's where we are now. So then the numbers are still going up. You know,
Yeah.
this year we might be somewhere above 100,000 users.
Yeah. So are you charging for memberships? Are you charging a percentage on the savings? Like, what is your business model, and are you monetizing yet?
Yeah, so the business model is a subscription-based fee. So we categorize groups. So we have about 4 plans, I guess. And so we have a freemium. So a freemium is for groups at the bottom, so they don't pay nothing. It's free for them. And then we have other groups in the middle upper class. So these they pay a subscription fee per month based on the volume of their savings. So that's the B2C, you know, component, and then we have a B2B component. So this is where we deal with NGOs that are working with those savings groups at the bottom of the pyramid because we provide them with the dashboard. And we also have a B2B where we deal with financial service providers because, again, they want to tap into this liquidity. Because, again, back to the data, in 2018, of the 47,000 groups, that's roughly a little bit above 1 million people. So to give you an idea of the traffic in terms of savings, they were doing roughly 5 point something million in savings per month. Now, commercial banks in Kigali handles that in terms of savings. So these are retail clients. These are not like corporate transaction, you know, those big
Yeah.
transactions. They might be handling those transactions, but in terms of deposits, and this is the minimum. So 5.4, I think, million every single month
Yeah.
coming in the form of savings. So just to give you an idea of how big and how lucrative this sector is. Now, this is just Rwanda. I mean, if you go across Africa, it's just another, you know, it's not another story. If you go to Uganda, Kenya,
Yeah.
it's just like probably more than 10 times the numbers that we have here, you know.
Yeah.
So have
Yeah.
savings groups in Kenya that have turned, you know, that have become investment company. They started as informal savings groups, and then they ended up because they grew, you know, organically, and then they go to a point whereby they can now, you know, invest in assets or, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Great.
Mhm.
Yeah. So speaking of those other countries, neighboring countries to Rwanda,
Mhm.
have you expanded to those markets as well, or do you plan to?
Yes, next year. Next year is a plan. We feel like in Rwanda we've gotten a hang of it. We just need to now grow the numbers, but in terms of model and understanding the market dynamics, I feel like we have an idea. And so next year, the plan is to now go outside of Rwanda. We already have prospects in different countries. So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's COVID as well. So let's see how that plays out. But other than that, we already have plans for next year to sort of you know, scale. So we're looking at West Africa, we're looking at Southern Africa, we're looking at Eastern Africa. So all those are countries where we see we can go and then play a pivotal role in terms of, you know, bringing these informal savings schemes, you know, within the formal sector.
Yeah. All right. So when we talk about fintech, people think of regulations. Oh, how am I
Mhm.
going to get past these
Yeah.
regulations? Can you talk about that and how you know overcame the challenges that come with regulations when you
Mhm.
trying to start a fintech company in Rwanda?
I mean, obviously there are pros and cons, depending on what you're doing. So whatever it is I'm going to say, it's pretty much like a broad or general comment. So if you break it down to specific cases, then it might change or it might need to be adapted. Now, my experience has been of the fact that as an entrepreneur, you need to do your homework, simply put. So you need to understand your sector and then know who you need to talk to, or you need to do your due diligence, as soon as you can, so that you do not end up making investment and then realize maybe what you've been doing is you've been doing it the wrong way, or you need to reverse the whole process, which can result into bankruptcy or closing your business and all that kind of stuff. So as an entrepreneur, do your business. Now, the regulatory framework in Rwanda can be different from the one in Uganda, Kenya, or whatever that is. So my suggestion is do your homework. Now, on our side, I mean, we've been engaging very much the central bank, trying to understand, So we are part of the FinTech Association in Rwanda. We are part of the ICT, the private sector ICT department, if I can put it that way. So we're sort of involved within the ecosystem, so we know what's going on, what's happening, and if there are things that are changing, incentives or whatever. I mean, all those things. So when you're informed, then you get to utilize that information for your own benefit or for the benefit of your business. So my suggestion, my thinking has always been that kind of approach. So do your homework, understand the sector or the market in which you're operating, and then know how to position yourself. And try as much as you can network, talk to people so that somebody can give you a heads up, like, hey, take it easy here, or do this, or structure it this way. So that's something we've been engaging the central bank actively, so they know what we're doing. They know what we're trying to achieve. And now, in my case specifically, we do not need to be regulated. We're not licensed per se. But then that's a decision that was arrived at by the central banks, because they reviewed, sort of our business. They went through. They asked us for a number of things, business plans, strategic plans. They asked us for, many things, which we provided. And then after we provided, they went through it. They realized we do not need a license. So those are the things one has to do. You could find maybe you need a license, possibly.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, I don't know if I responded, but that's how you navigate around the regulatory framework. Do your homework, understand well your sector, position yourself. If you need, to be regulated, go for it. If you do not, also know that, so that whenever somebody pops up, because we get that a lot on our social media. Again, we're dealing with people's money. So people would ask us, does the central bank know you? Are you guys not scammers or whatever? So we those are things you need to foresee beforehand, so that when they occur, you know how to respond to those and how to react to those.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. Yeah, great example of someone who did the research, who educated themselves about
Mm-hmm.
the market.
Mm-hmm.
So if I understand this well, your background is in school. You did environment management, but
Yes.
you ended up in technology and
Yeah.
finance. Okay. Can you give us a backstory on how
Yeah.
you ended up becoming an entrepreneur in the area where you didn't have experience?
So that's an interesting story. So at uni, I did environment. I mean, it was the faculty of geography, but then majored in environment science. Now, how I ended up where I am now, people always ask me that question, honestly. It's not something I foresaw. But so back at uni, I was more into activism. So that was the thing. I mean, I remember I was involved in a number of, activism programs and all that kind of stuff. And so one of the things that pissed me off is the fact that raising money for charity, I mean, it's not an easy thing. Listen, Rwanda, it's like you go around asking for money. So that pissed me off big time. And I was like, you know what? Let me go make my own money and then I can put money back into activism or charity, whatever that is. So that's when it came to mind. And then, so in my last year, I was helping out a friend who was setting up shop. And then right after uni, actually, when I was in my last semester, that I got a professional internship that was actually paying, was paying me good. But then after that, after I think 6 months, I quit. So I quit to start on my own now. And ever since, previously, I mean, if you try to create a common denominator, you'd see that I picked interest in things to do with data. So that's where you'd see. And I think my first adventure or the product that I worked on first was something to do with land property taxation. So we wanted to automate the whole process in Rwanda. Obviously, that went south. It never worked out. It failed miserably. And that's when now I got introduced to savings groups that sort of caught my attention. And then that's how I ended up, in the fintech sector. So in a short, that's, but I love what I do. And some people think I'm a software engineer. I'm not. But I know a thing or two about it. Because I work with, I think over 80% of my team, they're software engineers. So I know things, but I have never written a line of code.
Yeah.
But I can't be fooled though. So
yeah, very smart person. So I'm sure you can learn anything. So I was doing some research and then I landed on your videos where you were preparing, for pitch competitions when you were still at the uni. I remember exactly what the competition was about. But do you think that prepared you? So having that desire to be a part of something big or being competitive or being a problem solver, do you think that prepared you to get in the position that you are now?
Well, I would say yes, but when I was doing it then, I didn't know I was going to end up doing what I did today. So the approach, because I did math, and then when I went to uni, I've always wanted to be, at least then, I've always wanted to do architecture, and that didn't work out the way I wanted. And actually learned that geography existed as a faculty when I got at uni. So I had three options, it was either geography, math, or physics. Well, I didn't want to stress myself doing math or physics, like pure math or physics. So I said, let's just do geography, because I thought maybe I would look for another plan B or whatever. Now, as I was doing geography, I realized I didn't like it. So I needed to find something to keep me motivated, or to keep me, I don't know, like, motivated in one way or the other. So what I did was to try things. One of those was obviously, pitching, presenting, and all that kind of stuff, or, like presenting my ideas to the public. So I guess that sort of contributed to the fact that, because people ask me how many pitches I've done. I honestly lost count because I've been pitching since 2015. I'm still pitching even as we speak now. So I've probably done more than 100 or so. But then every time I pitch, I learn a thing, I improve myself. And again, Steve Jobs is the one that said that the most powerful people are storytellers. So the often I pitch, the better my story gets. Like, whatever it is I'm doing, I've pitched in many different countries, Rwanda, in other African country, in Europe, in Asia. So the more I do it, the better I get, and I keep learning a thing or two. And I feel like it's all. I mean, I did it when I started doing it. It was more to just do something new, challenging myself and all of that. And yeah, so I think that's it. Now, did it contribute? Obviously, yes. But did I know that it was going to lead to this? Most likely, no.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I can tell that you improved and became a better communicator, and also you get to network, right? All those competition you get involved in, and people, other participants that you meet there.
Yeah.
So speaking of pitching, your company has actually raised money, right?
Yes.
So how did you go about getting funding?
So I
Maybe
mean,
the
it's
seed capital.
tough. It's
Yep.
tough raising money from this part of the world. So it was many times we were about to close. So we were fortunate enough. So I've done 2 rounds already. So we've did a pre-seed and a seed round. And next year, hopefully, we do a Series A, just to expand outside of Rwanda. So yeah, it's not easy, and most of those people that invested in us, none of them is Rwandan or African for that matter.
Yeah.
So most of them are foreigners, because raising money from here, it's not an easy thing. And the fact that what I'm involved in is can only be understood or easily understood by Africans. When you say savings groups, people in Europe or the US, they wonder what's that. They don't get it. So the fact that I was able to convince them, I think I was fortunate enough and to be able to do that. So yeah, so we've done 2 rounds. So we got our pre-seed, I think, back in 2018. And then we did a seed round last year. That's when we closed it. And honestly, so we've raised more than $500,000 so far. So that's quite a huge, at least based in Rwanda. I mean, if I was in Kenya, Nairobi, that would be very easy. But here, it's not an easy thing.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished so far, and congratulations on securing funding. I've seen a few of your pitches. You're pretty good
Thank you. Appreciate
articulating your ideas. So keep it up. I have a lot of confidence in you and your team. Your team builds amazing products. They're very good design.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So yeah, keep it up. So in the startup scene in Rwanda, so obviously you talked about raising capital is a challenge. It's a big problem. Myself, I'm in the diaspora, but I was doing some research to see how can someone who has a little bit of money, how can they invest in companies in Rwanda or startups, or people have brilliant ideas. So is your platform Save Plus going to enable someone like me to be able to put in money and maybe be able to invest in a company in Rwanda? Like how is
So many people have asked me that question, but for now, Safe Plus is pretty much focusing on donations, charity money.
Oh, okay.
Because in terms of crowdfunding, that touches on the investment bit, I don't think currently we do not have a regulatory framework that addresses that here, as it is the case in the West. So that's why that wouldn't be practical. And obviously, folks here do not understand that just yet. I mean, a few people know that, and then they're sort of accustomed to that. But for now, as we wait for the regulatory framework to mature and then catch up to that, so we're going to be, Safe Plus is going to be focusing on charity and just helping out people, charity organizations or donations.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Well,
like
open mind. Sir?
Would that be like GoFundMe or Kickstarter?
Pretty much. Yes, pretty
Yeah.
much like
Okay.
GoFundMe. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But yeah, that's something too, because I mean that's something that's needed, because here
Hmm.
obviously a lot of people raise money via
Hmm.
Kickstarter and GoFundMe,
Yeah.
and yeah, giving people opportunity who have great ideas that they want to share with the world, and
Hmm.
providing that platform will give
Hmm.
them exposure to people who are willing to invest in them, not necessarily
Hmm.
like to get a profit, but to support their
Hmm.
projects, right?
Yeah.
um, we already help people that we believe in, or people that we love, our
Mhm.
families,
Yeah.
and with money, why not support someone who has a great idea that can have an impact on the community or the country.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
so
think
great.
it's something that will happen faster than we thought, and
Mhm.
now the RDB and they're thinking about because if you look at countries that have been able to sort of develop their seed, investors or early investors, they mostly do it through what we call syndicates. So you have people that come together with, small pools of money, and then they sort of invest. So that's something they've been looking into. I mean, hopefully we see that, implemented, say, next year or so. And
Yeah,
obviously, also, I feel like the regulatory framework is sort of catching up to a number of things. So I feel like it might happen sooner than expected. But for now, let's see how that plays out. And there's interest, be it from the diaspora or even foreigners, that really
hmm,
want to sort of expand their portfolio in terms of, as early
yeah,
investors, so to speak. Yeah. So, but
yeah,
for now, it's not there yet, and people are still into investing in people they know, they've seen, they have an
yeah,
MVP or that kind of stuff. So, but then doing things like Kickstarters or Seeders or all that, it's not there
yeah,
yet. I've got a friend of mine. He's from Uganda, so he had to incorporate his company in Europe so that he just crowdfunded. I think he raised, I mean, more than 500,000 euros or so.
yeah,
So you see, that's what's happening in terms of regulatory framework. We do not have that in place just yet, but I think it might come sooner than expected.
yeah. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, thank you. So you're an entrepreneur who is involved in the startup ecosystem in Rwanda. Like, what other opportunities do you see for entrepreneurs or problem solvers who want to create?
So, I mean, one thing that stands out in Rwanda is that there's a very conducive environment for people to try things out. So that's one. Another thing is Rwanda, geographically speaking, is well positioned because you have a small country. You could travel from one end to another in a day. So you can really, test things really fast and then learn and then improve and then get ready for scale. So those are the two things that I think that make Rwanda stand out, in terms of as far as entrepreneurship or startups are concerned. Now, others, internet is very accessible across different part of the country, and the ecosystem is growing rapidly. I would say the ecosystem is growing rapidly. I mean, there's interest. Talk to investors, they always say that Rwanda is still a small market in terms of, if you look at the, purchasing power, the size of the population, they still complain that it's still small because you're looking at 12 million, and I don't think you'd serve all the 12 million at once. So probably you'd be in the range of 5 million or so. So that's another issue. But always, if you're looking at trying things, you can go try things in Nairobi or Kenya, and it's a huge country. I mean, if you don't know what you're doing, you just shut down in a couple of months. I mean, the same thing applies to Tanzania, Uganda. They're quite huge countries. So random that sort of makes Rwanda a special place where you could try things. If you're trying new things or new technologies or new business ideas. So that's what I would say. The rest, I think we still have challenges here and there. Like the one I always like to refer to, there is access to capital. That's still a challenge. That's still a challenge, and hopefully in the next 1 or 2 years that gets solved. I'm hoping that I get to play a role in that. Finger crossed. Yeah, and so another challenge, which I feel like it's also being addressed, by the likes of Andela and so, is skills, especially if you're in the tech industry. So skills are still scarce in terms of, good like senior software developers. There's still few. But then now the fact that Rwanda has opened up, you have folks from many different countries coming in and then, doing things. So yeah, I think the rest is just obviously as an entrepreneur, you have to position yourself again and then know what you're all about, and then also, get your priorities right. And yeah, so
Yeah.
rather than that, yeah, that's it.
Great. Yeah. So what advice would you give to aspiring young entrepreneurs who want to, get into entrepreneurship? So according maybe to your experience, what advice would you give to them?
Well, I try not to consider myself as an expert, but if I'm to share my experience, obviously, just be curious. Be curious, and then follow your passion, and what you think is the big deal in your life. So do not try to copy paste, or not just trying to do things because everybody else is doing them. Just be authentic, and as you do so, remember, network is really key. Talk to people, get your ideas out there, get yourself scrutinized, and then get people to sort of, and you have many people that are willing to do that for free. I usually take people out, buy them coffee, but I learn a lot from them.
Yeah.
So network, if you know what you're doing, just network, talk to people, be it people with the money or people with the skills. Try to sort of do research, improve your knowledge and your skills every single day. Other than
Yeah.
that, it's a daily hustle. So hustle every other day, and then be positive. I don't know. Challenges are always going to be there. Challenges are always going to be there. Be positive, but then follow your passion, follow your dream, and then yeah, I think for me that's been the case. And you make mistakes, you learn from them, you pick yourself up, and then get back to it. And then yeah, and then somehow, somewhere, if it's something that you're really passionate about, it's definitely going to work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for that advice. So, and then we're approaching the end of the show. But can you
Yes.
talk about where you see the future of Rwanda and Africa in general, in this maybe in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, Africa is the next thing. Everybody knows that. And my worry, though, is that most Africans do not know that. And that's what scares me the most. If we knew the potential that we have as Africans and then position ourselves to sort of exploit that, I think that would be a game changer. But there are plenty of opportunities in Africa. You go to the US, you go to Europe, you see that the markets are overcrowded. You have in Africa most of these things that are being done in Europe or the West generally, they're not here, in many cases. So there are plenty of opportunities, and my hope is that we Africans, live up to the challenge, and that's my hope. Be it entrepreneurs or whichever sector you might look at. So we just have to sort of, position ourselves, but there are plenty of opportunities in whichever sector you could think of. There are plenty of opportunities, and things are happening in Africa. Things are happening. Even other people are coming from across the globe, to come in and create businesses, and I mean, I've seen recently, Rwanda, they're working on their Startup Act. So there's a whole wave happening, countries, Kenya, I think they just passed a law a few weeks ago. You have countries that are now saying that actually foreigners are coming in to sort of, create businesses, and locals are not benefiting from it. So they're now trying to put together, convenient legal framework that would allow local people to sort of strive. So I feel like that's the thing. I mean, there's a whole lot of things happening in Africa. We just have to live up to the challenge. I mean, we Africans need to sort of, in whichever sector you're in, and especially now for me, I'm like, even the diaspora, because, there's plenty of things. And now you guys, you could even be a bridge, because you're in places where there's money, investment and all that kind of stuff. So there could be a bridge in between there. I have friends that have moved back.
Yeah.
They started companies when they were still living abroad, and they sort of built their company to a point that they felt like it was necessary for them to move back. So you see these things happening, and I mean, you come here, you do things, and then you see the impact. You see things moving and changing, and this, I mean, that's nothing beats that, really. So I feel like this is I mean, our time to shine. It's always been, but I feel like now this is this is it now,
Yeah.
And if our generation misses this opportunity, I don't know. Yeah, it's just gonna take a long time now for people to get back to where we are right now. So I feel like it's a more responsibility that our generation has to really take this opportunity and utilize it and exploit it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm excited about Africa's future. I want to be a part of it. You're a part of it.
Look at what you're doing. You're already a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, whatever I can. I guess, can you add to that specifically for people who are abroad, who are in the diaspora, like who want to be part of the Africa's future, who want to participate, but they can't be on the ground? What can you tell them? How can they contribute?
Well, I mean, the first thing is just be informed, That's the least of things you could do from whatever it is. I mean, be informed about what's happening back home. Be informed. And as you find what you can do and how, the least you could do, at least be informed. I mean, in a nutshell. So just try to do your research, know what's happening back home. And then as you learn things about what's happening, that's when you can easily know where to plug in. So, I mean, it could take days, it could take weeks, it could take years, but at least do something about it. I mean, just be informed, read things, and then be proactive in any way you can be. Like, things like this. I mean, we do not share things back here, and we don't do podcasts. We don't do, yet we have a lot of things that people can share, And the fact that you're doing this, I mean, it's a great deal, because these are things people are going to be watching and then learning. I've been watching the people you've interviewed previously. They all have different things to share, and this is already a big deal. So be informed and find ways you can get involved in one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shema. Thanks for sharing the knowledge.
Anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure chatting with you. I'm sure people will find this interview useful and the information you shared. And lastly, how can people get in touch with you or learn about your work?
Well, I try to keep up with social media. So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, I barely use Facebook though. I'm on Instagram as well, and my name is Shema Steve. So that's across the board, And Exuus is on LinkedIn, I guess, and on Twitter as well. Yeah. So you have those, and then we have our products are also on social media. So whatever, I mean, you could reach me either directly or via, the company handles.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I'll link to all your social media profiles so people can get in touch with you.
Sure.
And yeah, and I'll keep following your journey, and hopefully we'll do another interview in the future.
Anytime, bro, anytime.
Yeah, thank you so much, and good luck with everything that you're doing.
Okay, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Okay.